In this unit, we'll look at the Renaissance in Italian theater, specifically as it relates to one form of performance called Commedia dell'arte, which introduced the professional actor to Europe. This was a masked improvisational style of comic theater. It utilized stock characters and stock situations which could be put together in various configurations, allowing the actors to improvise while also having set pieces of business to work with. The actors created the dialogue, playing off of each other. Commedia dell'arte was concerned mostly with disgraceful love intrigues, clever tricks to get money or outwit some simpleton. There were the long-lost children stolen by the Turks, plotting maids, bragging captains, aged fathers, and wily widows. Each gentleman had his parasite, each woman her confidant. There was considerable diversity of incidents, such as night scenes in which the hero was mistaken for the villain, or cases where father and son fall in love with the same girl, and risque situations, the representation of fire, shipwreck, and the like, which served as a pretext for allowing actresses to appear partially dressed on the stage. And yes, they were actresses. This form of theater used stock characters with broad, exaggerated personality traits and specific costume styles that made them easily recognizable to the audience. If you recall, earlier in Italy we saw the beginnings of stock character types. Commedia dell'arte took that even further. So this is one type. This is Pantalone. He was the old man, somewhat foolish, talkative, fond of women and food, gullible, and the butt of jokes. He was typically the employer or the father or godfather, and because he had the money, he had the power. He was usually a merchant and usually miserly. Il dottore was the doctor. He was an old man, either a lawyer or astrologer or a philosopher, not necessarily just a medical doctor. He was usually the friend or neighbor or rival of Pantalone. He was ridiculously talkative, often used words wrong, pompous, sometimes absent-minded, and liked food and drink. Il capitano was the captain. He was a man of adventure, a cowardly braggart, and a womanizer. He was either Italian or Spanish, but always from somewhere else, not the locale of the play, and he carried a long sword. The innamorati were the lovers. They were young and attractive. They didn't use a mask, but they used stage makeup and beauty spots to enhance their beauty. They were ineffectual. They always needed the help of their zani or their servants to outwit the older characters and unite with the lover. And they were in love with being in love. The zani were the servant class. None was completely clever or completely stupid. There were some combination of the two. Usually there were at least two zani in a scenario. One was smarter, the other not so smart, and they were the principal contributors to any sort of a confusion. So this is one type of zani called Arlecchino or Harlequin. He was one of the best known of the zani. He was a servant, usually to Pantalone or El Capitano or Il Dottore. He was ragged yet sleek, clumsy yet graceful, and he often adapted disguises and hatched schemes. And his female counterpart, or one of the best-known female zani, is Columbina. She was a perky servant, often the wife or love interest of Arlecchino, and she was the confidant and message carrier for the lovers. She was sometimes unmasked or sometimes wore a mask covering her eyes. Usually she had an apron and a tambourine, and she was sometimes flirtatious, and she was smart. Lazzi were the comic bits of action and or dialogue. So one example is the lazzo of excuses, where El Capitano goes into a long spiel about how he could kill whoever he's talking to, how he could destroy them in so many ways with so much ease, but there's always some silly reason why he can't. Or another example of a lazzo is one where a servant, disgusted at an order that his master has given him, delays carrying it out until he has turned a complete somersault. And there was one famous actor who could do this trick, having a full glass of wine in his hand without spilling a drop. So when you exit out of this video and go back to our course page, I'll have a couple of samples for you to watch.